The Raptors get smoked by the Suns. It wasn't close at any point in time. Good God, let's go to the film room.
The only thing that's originally filmed is that and I've studied older films and tried to figure out how I got that impression. I was getting knees right in the cutting room.
The unique thing about film is an art form
exactly.
is the editing.
Yeah.
All right, folks. Brandon Ingram had probably his worst game of the season. It was a bad game. Really, really bad game. 6 points, 3 of 10 from the field. He had 5 turnovers. He almost had as many turnovers as he had points. And a team low minus 29 in 27 minutes of action. The Raptors get smoked. They lose by 22 points against the Phoenix Suns. Let's talk about Ingram. Let's talk about offensive process. Let's talk about decision-making for the Raptors. So I do like it when the Raptors run screening, off-ball screening actions for Brandon Ingram. I think that's the best source of offense for him, especially early on in games to get him going some easy shots. And so as you see here, a little gut screen action for him to get into the paint. But now that there is help, now that there is 2 people on you and 4 looking directly at you, it feels like this is an opportunity to make a play, maybe potentially the wraparound pass here to Jakob Poeltl. You know, RJ Barrett is shaking up. Maybe you can kick that pass out. Or if you don't see anything, reset. Like, just quicker decision-making from BI can really help him in these situations and to not have bad turnovers like this. And this is more of a general point, not necessarily related to BI, but definitely involves Brandon Ingram a lot because the Raptors take too long to get him involved in actions and in general to set up their actions. So 14 seconds left on the clock. This is an inbounds play. They got to move quick, right? But they just kind of meander through things. And it ends up being, a back screen. They're trying to get Scotty Barnes, this mismatch against Jalen Green, right? He's got the mismatch now. There's about 6 seconds left on the clock. Like, I would like for Brandon Ingram to move this ball, get Scotty the opportunity to have a post up in the mismatch in the post. But that doesn't happen. BI just goes one-on-one, settles into a mid-range jumper. Ultimately, you can say, well, hey, there was 6 seconds left on the clock. Kind of tough for him to feed it to Scotty and let Scotty cook, right? And sure, maybe that's right. At the same time, I just feel like the Raptors could have gone through that process a lot quicker. And so also, the attention, of course, will always be on Brandon Ingram. As you see here, there's nail help from Devin Booker so that Brandon can't turn the corner this way. And also, like, Jamal Shed isn't much of a threat, so Rasheer Fleming is going to help off him. Brandon needs to be cognizant of these things, but also make quicker decisions. That's why I'm not necessarily in love with these mid-post actions to start possessions for the Raptors. That's why I like more off-ball screening actions for Brandon Ingram to get him going off of the catch. Compare that to a typical Scotty Barnes possession off ball. And by the way, this is like 2 different levels of processing speed. Scotty is just a much faster decision maker. And so these options are much more available to him. You see here, runs a pick and roll situation with him and Jameson Battle, attacks the closeout or attacks the driving lane and finds Jameson right there. So just quicker decision making from Scotty in general. And so as you see here, like another possession from Scotty where he's working, he's telling players where to space, right? You see him redirecting players, telling Jacoby Walter to clear out, gets the drive, help comes. He's very quick to make that kick out pass to Jameson Battle. Again, with the quick decision making, as you see here, Scotty Barnes engages the help defender. And also he recognizes, like, he hunts out that mismatch against Colin Gillespie. So he knows the help is going to dig in. That means it's a 4-on-3 situation for the Raptors against the help. Scotty Barnes, RJ Barrett, is such a great weak side cutter. RJ is going to cut this lane and dunk it. And that's just quick decision-making by Scotty and RJ. So boom, as you watch here, they hunt out a mismatch for Scotty again. Now in the post, help comes, immediate kick out. This results in a Jacoby Walter 3-point shot. But just faster decision-making really helps this Raptors offense in the half court. Once again, they hunt out the mismatch for Scotty in the post, and they feed it to him, and immediately drive, seeks the double, and gives Quick the ball, who knocks down the 3. And I especially when Brandon Ingram is struggling in a game like he is today, I don't like the concept of them going one, flatting it out, ISO ball for Brandon Ingram to create a shot for himself, and be able to draw the defense. Like, at the very least, you're either setting a pick and roll for him to create or get him moving off of the ball so he can get an easier shot. This is just so tough for a guy who's been struggling all night to have to go one-on-one isolation. And by the way, like, turnover, he didn't take care of the ball at all today. This segment is a presentation of Lotto Max. Calling all Raptors fans, Lotto Max and the Raptors have officially launched their Max Contract Fan Contest, where one winner will be given the chance to call the shots and personalize their own prize pack worth $50,000 Canadian. What prizes can you choose from? How about 2026-2027 season tickets or courtside tickets to 5 games next season, or a chance to attend all home playoff games this year? Visit the Raptors app to learn more and enter today. And don't forget to opt into our emails and hear about future chances to win. No purchase necessary. 18 plus, Ontario only. Ends March 29th, 2026. Grand prize winner to select one prize from each of Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3. Visit the Toronto Raptors app for full contest rules, prize details, and how to enter. And so, yeah, it was a really, really bad Brandon Ingram game. And I thought like 5 turnovers, 6 made shots, 3 of 10 from the field. That kind of tells you the story there for a team. And then on the other side of things, you look at Scottie Barnes, who overall had a pretty good game, like 17 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists on 8 of 9 shooting. He only played 25 minutes tonight. Like, Scottie was working on a pretty good game. Now, truthfully, like, it's one game, but at the same time, this has been a percolating issue for the Toronto Raptors. Not the comparison of Scottie Barnes and Brandon Ingram. That's not what I'm doing. Both of those guys provide something very essential for the Raptors. Scottie is this do-it-all player. He can do literally everything on the floor when it comes to defense, but at the same time, he's a very, very talented passer, very good transition player, and so he fuels the Raptors in so many different ways. Brandon Ingram is a scorer, and, of course, because of the Raptors and their makeup, their roster makeup, he is forced to take and make a lot of tough shots. That's been the case all season. Tonight, he was not able to take and make those tough shots. And beyond that, he was really, really slow at processing the floor, at making plays, at basically like seeking out double teams and also making quick decisions off of it. If you'll remember, I think it was a few games ago. Truthfully, it might have been the game against the Suns where Brandon Ingram was awesome, but it also could have been the Pistons game where BI's decision-making is what I broke down. It was like making quicker decisions was the key to the Raptors having a better half-court offensive output. And I guess the question becomes for the Toronto Raptors is, how do you make Brandon Ingram play faster in the half-court? Or how do you slow down and effectively score in the half court? Because I do not think the Raptors have what it takes offensively to play a slower pace, to play at a slower pace. I've asked Darko Rajakovic about this. It's like, how do you feel playing faster in the half court has helped your team? And he said, we haven't even reached 5% of what I want to reach in the half court speed wise. The endurance required, the cardio required, truthfully, the connectiveness that is required, this is me quoting Darko Rajakovic, the connectiveness that is required to do that, I'm paraphrasing, we're not even halfway there. So Darko clearly wants this team to play fast in the half court. Darko very clearly wants this team to move the ball consistently, but also move the ball with pace in the half court. And how do you make Brandon Ingram do that consistently? I think there are moments where he does do it well, and the Raptors shooters are not doing well of converting on his opportunities. And perhaps, again, that comes back to what I was alluding to a couple of weeks ago when they were down in the gutter of perhaps this is sort of this trickle-down effect of when you pass the ball to someone and those guys do not hit shots, you are eventually less likely to pass the ball to that person. Scottie Barnes isn't like that. He's not kind of like built that way. He is always going to make the pass because Scottie, from high school time, has been a pass-first player. His playmaking has always been like his number one calling card as a player, especially offensively. And so it's kind of been ingrained in Scottie since he was 12 years old to pass the ball and to make the right play. I'm not saying that's not what Brandon Ingram is doing. Brandon has developed into a very, very good passer. I would agree that, like, I would argue truthfully that in his time in New Orleans, he was underrated as a playmaker. But I do think with this current roster construction, it requires BI to make plays quicker. And how do the Raptors open that up for him? How do they make it more comfortable for him to make reads? That's the biggest question that I have for the Raptors. Not only the rest of this year, and by the way, biggest question, I mean, relating to Brandon Ingram. Not just the rest of this year, but moving forward in this partnership that they have with Brandon Ingram, because Darko Rajakovic is clearly a coach that understands that this Raptors team wants to play fast, both in transition and in the half court. And they have this player in Brandon Ingram who does like to slow down the pace. It would be the same problem, albeit to a lesser extent, of course, if the Raptors had a slower pace player like Luka Doncic on the floor. They would have to play differently, because Luka is a guy who meticulously likes to slow down the pace. He likes to mismatch hunt. He likes to run pick and rolls. He is going to make the pace purposefully slower so that he can gain an advantage. That's what Luka Doncic is. And obviously at a different level, because Luka Doncic is an MVP type player in this league, Brandon Ingram kind of does similar things in the sense that he likes to play slow. I'm not comparing those types of players. I'm just comparing their pace. They both like to play slower. How do they prioritize that? How do they blend an offense in which Scotty Barnes clearly likes to play fast and Brandon Ingram clearly likes to play slow? And by the way, this isn't some new thought that I have. Samson actually has a really great piece coming out about this when it comes to Darko Rajakovic and sort of the blend. How are you going to maximize your best player and your best scorer? And that's the ultimate question, for this Raptors team, especially when it comes to roster construction. The Raptors played a terrible game, even outside of Brandon Ingram. The defense was not good. They allowed the Suns to get really cooking from three-point land. Phoenix obviously had a really good shooting game the last time they played. They continued with that tonight. 18 of 40 from three, 45% from three. This is what ends up being sort of a sore spot for the Raptors defense, because they're trying to make teams scramble. They're trying to make teams cough the ball up. And sometimes a team with very talented three-point shooting can make you pay in that regard. And that's something that applies against the Knicks. That's something that applies against the Celtics. It might be something that applies against the Cleveland Cavaliers, this new look Cleveland Cavaliers team with, James Harden and Donovan Mitchell together, teams that are really good at generating threes and taking a lot of threes. The Raptors will always have a disadvantage against. I mean, the Raptors took 27 threes tonight. They took 13 fewer threes than the Suns, and they made half as many. And, there was a lot of garbage time in this game. Basically, the Raptors pulled their starters with a couple minutes left in the third quarter. Grady Dick ended up playing, 15 minutes in this game. Jonathan Mobo ended up playing 17 minutes in this game. So you know what kind of game this was, a blowout from basically the third quarter on. But overall, the Suns handedly took care of business here. And this was a Suns team that was faltering over the last couple of games. They had lost 4 in a row. And this was on the second night of a back-to-back. They had just had a really ugly loss to the Milwaukee Bucks without Giannis Antetokounmpo. So perhaps they were a little motivated. Perhaps they were a little energized to beat a team that had beat them in dramatic fashion just a week ago. And they had the game tape. They had the film footage right there for them as motivation. So maybe there's a little bit of that to this. But the Raptors were not prepared in this game. From the start, it seemed like their decision-making was a step slow. It seemed like they were not engaged in a way that, serious team would be engaged when it comes to trying to beat a team on the second night of a back-to-back. Now the Raptors are going to be on the second night of a back-to-back against the Utah Jazz. Can they take care of business? Can they do that? Because, 2 days ago, I was telling you guys, look at this, a serious team. They're back. They're back to being good again. And are they back to being bad again? I don't know. I don't necessarily think we can answer that question yet. But ultimately, the Raptors need to take care of business against the Utah Jazz on Monday. They got the LA Clippers on Wednesday, I believe. That will be interesting. Clippers are a pretty fun team to watch recently with Kawhi playing out of his mind and Darius Garland and Ben Mathurin and those guys. So pretty excited to see how the Raptors match up against that team. But preparedness is a pretty big thing here. And ultimately, when you get a game like that from Brandon Ingram, you're not going to win much. just the case. That's just the point, truthfully. Anyways, y'all, that's it. That's all I got for you guys. Tap in, like, comment, subscribe to Raptors Republic as usual. We'll be back on Monday, tomorrow, or today if you're listening to it, for the Jazz game. So appreciate you guys as always. We'll see you in a little bit. Peace out.